Hi, my name is April and welcome back to my channel. I want to share with you common themes and questions that I always receive when I'm interviewing for a school-based administrative position, such as an assistant principal or for a district level administrative position. There have been lots of similarities, but there have been a few differences. If you're interested or you're in the search for an admin position and you want to know some of the questions that you may be asked, stay tuned. First, let me tell you that no two interviews have been the exact same. Although I get a lot of themes and similarities, I always have to be careful and not to come up when I'm practicing how I would answer these with cookie cutter answers, because you have to be able to, as honestly as you can and as at the top of the dome as you can, be able to adjust your answers for the particular school or district office or program that you're interviewing for, the position that you're interviewing for. So this is just an outline and a guide to help you get familiar with some of the questions that you may be asked when you're interviewing. So let me start with some of the commonalities that I've noticed when I've been interviewing for district level admin and school level admin positions. Number one, always a question about data, and not just how do you use data. I've had questions asked about the use of particular data sources in your district. So for example, at the school-based level, in my district, there is a certain test that students take 3 times a year. It's a MAP test. I can't remember what it stands for, but it measures their academic process, and students take that 3 times a year. So at the school level, I always get some kind of question about how do I use a particular data source to inform my decisions. Some schools have asked me specifically about that particular data source and how I would use it. And some schools have been more generic and said, give us a data source that you would use to inform a decision. That has been the same for the district level positions that I've interviewed for. They don't give me the name. I have never, for a district level, been provided the name of a data source. They want to know, what data source have I used to inform a particular decision? So just if you're looking for an admin position, definitely be very familiar with the data sources that you have in your district and what their uses are. Also, with the data question, they always ask about follow-up. So yes, you may know what the data source is. Yes, you may have used the data for something, but what is the follow-up procedure after that? 2, another commonality that I've received when interviewing for school-based and district-based positions will be something around non-compliance and resistance. When I'm interviewing for a school-based position, they're usually asking about the resistance of teachers. Let's say the school is going toward a new school expectation and reward system policy, and you have a teacher who's not on board. How do you deal with that resistance? So they could ask that question more specifically with a scenario, and the non-compliance could be with an adult or it could be with a student. And they want to know, how do you deal with that? At the district level, what I have found is mostly the positions I've been interviewing for have been around, how do you deal with a principal who is non-compliant or who's not willing to get behind a district initiative? How do you deal with that? What are your outcomes if you have dealt with it in the past? And what is your process of working through that? Third commonality between school-based admin and district admin questions will be something around equity. What that looks like has varied greatly for me in all of my interviews, but I know that an equity-related question is coming, so I prepare myself and thinking about all of the equity-related situations that I've been involved in and how I have handled that. At the school level, When I've been asked about equity, it's usually around disproportionality. How do you deal with a teacher who's given referrals to the black more of the black boys than the other students in class? Like you're putting referrals, and this is what you noticed. Like, what are you going to do about it? And at the district level, equity has been more about protocols and systemic things that you have in place to deal with equity. Like, what is your experience with that? And number 4, it's always a twist on tell me about yourself. I have not been asked to tell me about yourself in in a few years. It used to be that was the one question that you knew you were going to get at an interview. So tell me about yourself. And lately, my interviews have not been as straightforward as just tell me about yourself. It's always been a twist to it. So an example has been, tell me how your experiences that you've had, how does it fit the needs of this school? Or for the district, tell me about the experiences you've had that will fit the needs of this department or of this program. So it's still asking about myself, but it's doing it in such a way where we don't care about where you were born. Like, we don't care about the fluff. We want to know what you've done in your work life and your personal life, if it's relevant, how it's going to help us at this school or with this program at the district level. And now let's talk about the differences. So I gave you some examples of the 4 common things and how, although the things are the same, how they ask them differently or what they mean or what they want to hear differently between the school-based and district level. 2 distinct differences that I've noticed from my school-based versus the district-based administrative positions. Definitely at the school-based level, one major difference is they ask a lot of situational questions. I kind of alluded to it earlier when I was talking about resistance and noncompliance. I have not been to an assistant principal interview where they did not give me a scenario. Some schools give me a scenario of student misbehavior, a whole scenario, and tell me how I would deal with it. Another school asked about, I'm your principal, and I gave you a list of 10 tasks that must be done within 5 days. And you know you're not going to finish the task. How would you handle it? Or order the task list that I give you, and then how would you go about telling me that you're not going to finish it? That was an interesting one because I know that they really don't want you to tell them that you're not going to be able to finish it. Like, you have to figure it out. And that was interesting because they want to see where your priorities are. How would you list them? So that is one major difference. School-based always ask some sort of scenario. I don't get that when I do district-based admin interviews. The closest I've come to it is tell me how you would handle a non-compliant principal. Okay. And the second major difference between school-based and district-based admin positions will be when you're looking at district-based, they want to know how you are going to bring about or how you're going to ensure through systems, big, large systems work, the district's priorities, missions, mission and vision. So I'm not saying that there are no systems work at the school level, because there are, but when I have my district level, they're just super big picture, because the jobs that I have interviewed for, I'm not just working on a program or in a department and working with one school. I'm in a department program working with 10 schools. how am I going to ensure that the 10 schools I'm working with are going to be able to carry out the superintendent's 1,001 initiatives? So, and I don't get that kind of question when I interview for assistant principal positions. So I hope this was helpful for you, and I hope it gives you some insight to some of the questions that you may be asked. And if you're curious to know why I have interviewed for both school level and district level, I am more than happy to go down that rabbit hole and explain it to you. Just let me know down in the comments. And if you have any questions for me, I will be more than happy to answer. Until next time, bye.